Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News starts now.
We begin with a 2-year-old boy rushed to the hospital after accidentally shooting himself on Detroit's east side.
Police say the boy found his mother's gun that was unlocked in a bedroom. Mara McDonald at Children's Hospital with the latest on his condition. Mara.
Kimberly, Detroit police are telling us that 2-year-old shot himself through the wrist. Bullet travels up, exits out of his shoulder. He's in surgery right now. Detroit police at the home tonight investigating. According to the mom, her 2-year-old son was asleep in a bedroom while she and her boyfriend were in another room of the home. That toddler got out of bed and found the unlicensed firearm underneath the bed, and he shot himself.
Discharges the weapon into his hand. It goes through his hand and through his shoulder, barely missing his head, obviously. So we could be having a very different conversation. So thank God that the baby's going to be okay.
The mom grabbed her son and they drove to Children's Hospital. Police say the mother's story adds up, but there will be more investigating done here.
It's a tremendous responsibility to have a gun. It just is. And if we're not going to be responsible and we're having our babies get shot by adult decisions, I mean, it's just irresponsible, and we just got to do better. We got to do better for our children.
The chief says no question there will be charges in this case. We're at Children's Hospital. I'm Mara McDonald, Local 4.
All right, Mara, also developing tonight, protesters against Canada's vaccine mandate forcing the Ambassador Bridge to close.
That group disrupted travel going into Canada, creating a huge backup on our local freeways, especially on I-75. The protests all started about 10 days ago in Ottawa, with truckers calling themselves the Freedom Convoy. The group opposes a recent mandate requiring drivers entering Canada to be fully vaccinated or face testing and quarantine requirements.
Tim Pamplin near the Ambassador Bridge tonight with the latest. Tim.
The Canadian Freedom Convoy protests have made their way to our backyard. Windsor, Ontario was in their sights, and the Ambassador Bridge was their target. The backups on 75 to the Ambassador Bridge started around about 3 o'clock this afternoon, and as day turns to night, the situation hasn't changed any. Thousands of truckers now stranded on Detroit roads with nowhere to go.
We got to grin and bear it, right? You know, there's just... can't get upset. I'm not the only guy stuck out here, but fortunately I do have a sleeper cab, and I feel for many of these drivers that don't have that option.
From Sky 4, you could see the protesters on the Canadian side in downtown Windsor blocking the road and essentially shutting down the busiest border crossing in North America. And with the bridge shut down, the backup started piling up here along 75 in the service drive. In this rig, Nave's carrying a load of breakfast cereal destined for Toronto.
It doesn't make sense to disturb the rest of the public, right? So they shouldn't be blocking the borders, or they shouldn't be blocking the roads.
I'm triple vaccinated, I'm pro-vaccine, but I'm anti-mandate. It's time that the mandates were over. It's time that people could travel freely across the border, both sides.
Talking of traveling freely along 4th Street, this driver coming the wrong way down the road, trying to get around all the backed up trucks. But unfortunately for her, a police officer was coming the opposite direction. While these two spent some time figuring this one out, these truckers, well, they have time limits, and the clock is ticking.
14 hours on the clock we're allowed.
And where are you now?
Oh, I'm around 13.
So Ron here is going to spend the night at the local gas station parking lot. Take a look at the time lapse. The trucks on top, they're crossing the bridge. Well, they're meant to be. They're not going anywhere.
You know, I can understand people fighting for certain rights, but the way they're going about it, doing this is not going to solve anything.
Along the border tonight, with the night camp, Tim Pamplin, Local 4.
All right, Tim, we'll stay on that. Meanwhile, a few light snow showers across Metro Detroit to kick off the work week.
And now, Andrew, here comes the cold, too.
That's right. It does get colder, and emphasis on the word light when it comes to the snow. We're seeing some flurries and light snow across parts of southeast Michigan. Here in downtown Detroit, we have a few flakes that are flying. Fortunately, accumulations still remain light. Now, areas farther north, especially in northern Oakland County, northern Macomb County, up toward I-69, we've seen flurries and light snow for a while now. So a good 1/4 inch to possibly a 1/2 inch is already accumulated, with a little bit more over the next couple of hours, stretching from Lapeer over into the Holly area, also into Livingston County at this hour. And it continues to get colder. We've seen temperatures dive down to the 20s, and overnight we've got 25 degrees right now. It feels like it's in the teens. Overnight, Temperatures will be in the teens, but wind chills continue to fall through the single digits, even near zero or just below zero when many of us wake up Tuesday morning, including at the bus stop. So make sure the kids dress in layers, make sure you're bundled up as well. Temperatures will start off around 14 degrees Tuesday morning with those wind chills closer to around zero. But it will be drier with many of those snowflakes diminishing and stopping completely. What about tomorrow afternoon? We'll talk about where temperatures go from here and your 7-day forecast because there are a few more snowflakes that will occur this week. All that in just a few minutes.
All right, Andrew. Now to a family search for a missing 75-year-old man with dementia that came to an awful end.
The family of Melvin Field says they were told he went missing after being discharged from Sinai Grace Hospital. His disappearance triggered a police investigation and a ground search. Only Monday, the family learned he was never discharged from the hospital and died there Friday. DMC released a statement tonight disputing the family's claims, saying, quote, Mr. Field passed away at Sinai Grace Hospital on February 4th, and our staff made numerous attempts to reach out to the family, but were unsuccessful. We have since been in communication with the family and offer our deepest sympathies for their loss.
St. Clair Shores police released new video of a wild police chase that ended with gunfire.
This happened January 28th when police in Grosse Pointe Shores tried to stop a car for a traffic violation. Jason Colthorpe picks up the story from there.
There were actually two chases that night. The first one was called off by Grosse Pointe Shores. The second one ended up here in St. Clair Shores, and it ended just off of Jefferson here on Revere. And if you take a look, you can see just how narrow Revere is, and it dead ends down at Lake St. Clair. Once the driver realized that, he turned around, officers were waiting, and that's when things got dangerous. It was shortly after 9 p.m. January 28th when this home security video shows the car heading to the end of Revere and officers stopping behind. Moments later, you can see the vehicle headed back toward officers who are out with guns drawn. Another camera picked up those gunshots fired by officers. And on a dash cam, you can see an officer step aside and the suspect ram one cop car into another. 28-year-old Marquise Massey of Detroit was arraigned last Thursday from his hospital bed. His attorney says he was shot in the back. St. Clair Shores police tell the Macomb Daily Massey ignored several verbal commands, was bitten by a state police dog, and had to be tasered twice before being taken into custody. Police say two officers also ended up with minor injuries. The judge actually went above and beyond and gave Massey a $750,000 bond on this. His attorney argued it was way too excessive, saying he was the one who got shot by police over a minor traffic violation. In St. Clair Shores, Jason Colthorpe, Local 4.
Okay, Jason. Now to Monday's coronavirus numbers from the state, and this downward trend continues. 9,898 new cases over the past 3 days, averaging out to a little less than 3,300 cases per day. The state is also reporting 38 new COVID deaths over that same 3-day period.
And the 7-day moving average of new cases falling dramatically. 3 Mondays ago, we were averaging 15,000 cases a day. The average now sits just above 5,500.
A second guilty plea is coming in the alleged plot to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Court documents show 26-year-old Caleb Franks from Waterford has agreed to plead guilty. Franks was previously fighting the charges, claiming he and 4 other men were entrapped by FBI informants who infiltrated their group. Well, now court documents show he admits the plot was real and he knowingly and willingly joined the scheme. Franks may get a lighter sentence for pleading guilty, but he's expected to testify against the other defendants.
In just a few hours, Jennifer and James Crumbly, the parents of the accused in the Oxford school shooting, will be back in front of a judge.
They're facing a preliminary hearing to see if there's enough evidence for them to go to trial. The Crumblies are charged with involuntary manslaughter, accused of giving their 15-year-old son access to a gun and also failing to intervene when teachers raised concerns about his behavior. Ethan Crumbly is accused of killing 4 students and injuring 7 more during a shooting in November. All 3 remain behind bars.
Governor Whitmer expected to propose a $1 billion boost to Michigan's transportation budget. The now $6.3 billion plan is going to be presented to lawmakers on Wednesday. It includes new road and bridge funding from the federal infrastructure bill. 75% would go to state roads and bridges, 25% would go to local roads and bridges, and we'll be following that throughout the week.